Welcome to the history of the queer. The Ballad of Gladys Bentley. Welcome to the history of the queer, a history that wasn't whispered, wasn't hidden, but sung loudly in the places where America tried not to look. And at the center of one of Harlem's smoky, crowded, roaring clubs stood Gladys Bentley, a real woman, a real legend, who took the stage in a white tuxedo and made the piano her rebellion. The night the blues caught fire, it always began with sound, the kind that hit like a door slammed open. Bentley didn't ease into a show. She attacked the keys, laying down rhythms that came straight from the blues traditions she grew up on. In the late 1920s Harlem nightlife, places like the Clam House on 133rd Street, one of the era's most famous LGBTQ speakeasies, the audience leaned in as soon as she touched the piano. She strode across the room in her signature tuxedo, white, tailored, confident. Her public gender nonconformity wasn't accidental. It was intentional, bold, and widely documented in newspapers and interviews of the time. She sat down at the piano like it belonged to her heartbeat, too. Harlem knew her name before America knew its fear. Her fingers rolled through the opening chords, mixing blues with body humor. Songs she openly improvised with suggestive lyrics. Her voice was deep and booming, described in 1930s columns as masculine, commanding, and distinctly unlike any female performer in Harlem. She sang about love and desire for women, sometimes directly, sometimes teasing the crowd. This was not coded or subtle. Her flirtatious stage persona with female audience members was part of her documented act. Women in the front row blushed as she tossed them lines or winked mid-song. Men watched, fascinated, irritated, or impressed, but no one matched her energy. Harlem adored her because she represented a freedom that the underground queer community had long lived but rarely so reflected. Mainstream America feared her because she refused to accept their rules about gender. 3. Gin, sweat, and Salvation speakeasies were loud, sweaty, illegal, and perfect for Gladys. After late-night sets, she blended into the crowd, pouring gin, cracking jokes, and letting people feel seen in a world that criminalized their existence. Multiple accounts describe her walking the room with flirtatious bravado, lifting women's chins, wrapping an arm around a waist, performing intimacy as part of her show. But it was more than an act. Bentley lived openly as a lesbian through most of the 1920s and early 1930s, speaking about it publicly before later recanting under social pressure in the 1950s. Her life was not a performance of queerness. It was the expression of her truth. For the world that loved her and the world that lied about her, the Harlem Renaissance celebrated her. But when the Depression hit, nightlife shrank and moral conservatism surged. Police targeted queer clubs. Newspapers sensationalized cross-dressing performers. Bentley felt the squeeze. Her venues closed. Her income wavered. And society demanded conformity. In 1952, under McCarthy-era pressure, she published an article claiming she had been cured of lesbianism, a claim historians view as a survival tactic in a time when gender nonconforming performers faced arrest and blacklisting. But even as the world tried to rewrite her life, photographs, reviews, and the memories of Harlem survived her truth. The legend who would not disappear today, Gladys Bentley stands in queer history as one of the most iconic gay women of the early 20th century, a black, masculine-presenting lesbian who wore tuxedos on stage, sang about her love for women, and built a career in the center of Harlem's queer nightlife. She didn't wait for the world to understand her. She made it listen. A final note so welcome, truly welcome, to the history of the queer, a history not of silence, but of voices like Bentley's that shook the rafters of the clubs that sheltered them. And in that grand, messy, beautiful lineage, Gladys Bentley's piano still echoes, wild, brave, laughing, and defiantly unashamed.